There are things about your body you know for sure, or don't you? Can you guess what exactly is a myth or fact? 1 point is for each correct answer. Let me know your score. Brown eggs are more nutritious than white eggs. Myth or fact? Myth. There is no study saying brown eggs are healthier than white eggs. The only difference is the color of the eggshell. The color of the eggshell doesn't affect its nutrition or quality. That is related to the type of chicken. Chickens with white earlobes tend to have white egg. Have you heard that a large amount of the dust in your home is actually decanted skin? Not cool, I know. Do you think this is a myth or a fact? This is a myth. You're not just mopping your skin flakes from the floor. Many other components make the house dust. Fibers, hair, building materials, mold, pollen, insect body parts, and ash are some of them, according to the study made in Canadian houses. This makes sense because a house nearby a busy highway or in a renovation area has more dust than a house in the middle of a forest. Skin is our largest organ. Is this a fact or myth? It's a fact. You might think for a second that the intestine can be quite large when you unfold it, but nope. Skin wins the contest. An adult carries around 8 pounds and 22 square feet of skin. Can't think of us without a skin. It's not just there to cover our bodies, it has an essential role in protecting us too. You can't breathe and swallow at the same time. Myth or fact? It's a fact. Maybe you already knew the correct answer, but you tried it anyway after reading this, so see it for yourself. So in your throat, there are 2 passageways important for your survival. I'm putting aside the fancy medical names, and I'll refer to those 2 as airway and food pipe. They prevent breathing and swallowing simultaneously. Otherwise, food would enter the airway and cause severe complications. This doesn't always go as planned. That's why sometimes you end up coughing and preventing the piece of food from reaching the lungs. As well as having unique fingerprints, humans also have unique tongue prints. Is this a myth or fact? Fact! The human tongue is magnificent enough in its features that make us taste the food. It's also unique in its texture. People use biometric systems like fingerprints, voice scans, and iris scans for authentication. They are important to the identification and verification phases. Tongue print is unique, so it's very hard to copy it. It can be used as a biometric system tool too. What if people started using this system in their daily lives for safety reasons? Imagine locking a safe or your phone with a tongue print. An adult spends 3 hours in the bathroom every week. Do you think this is a fact or a myth? It's a fact. A poll by scientists reveals that an average adult spends 3 hours and 9 minutes on the toilet every week. This is more than the time they spent exercising. Take your sweet time, no need to rush. You swallow 8 spiders a year while sleeping. Myth or fact? Don't believe it. Lucky for us, and for the spiders of course, this is not true. Fear no more, and have a good night's sleep. Most spiders don't deliberately come near humans. Plus, vibrations coming from a sleeping person might be uncanny for them. Or maybe the spider just lives in the habitat. It thinks that you are flatmates sharing a room. As long as there is actual evidence, I call this a myth. Your thigh bone can resist thousands of pounds of force. Do you think this is a myth or a fact? Yes, this is a fact. People generally refer to it as tight bone, but its actual name is femur bone. This bone is located on the upper part of your leg. Experts say that this bone is hard to break. It's one of the 2 strongest bones in our anatomy. The first one is the temporal bone of the skull. If you wondered about the first one. Anyway, a tight bone can support 30 times more of your body weight. Maybe it's because the femur bone is the longest and largest bone in the human body. Do you believe that shaving your hair makes it grow back thicker? Fact or myth? Watch how I debunk that myth. Experts say shaving doesn't affect the thickness of the hair. The hair's head didn't remove, so the root is still there. You only shave the upper part. After a shave, the hair grows bluntly because it's been cut. That's why you may feel it's getting thicker. It's safe to eat food that's been on the floor for 5 seconds or less. Is this a fact or a myth? Sorry for blocking the best way you justify eating something that fell on the floor. There's no such thing as the 5-second rule. Researchers found that a substantial amount of bacteria transferred to the food within 5 seconds. The moisture of the food directly affects contamination. Imagine you drop a slice of watermelon and chips on the floor. I don't know why you're eating both together or how you end up dropping them both. But let's continue with this example anyway. The watermelon will have more contamination than chips. Because watermelon has more moisture in it, the surface of the watermelon is more open to transferring bacteria. Blondes and redheads may soon disappear. Myth or fact? An easy one, right? This is a myth. Red or blonde-colored hairs are connected to recessive genes. They can be carried from one generation to another without creating the hair color of the carrier. If both parents have the correct recessive genes, the chances are high that the next generation will have blonde or red hair. These genes are rare, but populations still have those genes carried out, so they won't get lost forever. For that to happen, literally everyone on the planet who carries that gene must disappear, so the chances are low. Drinking coffee dehydrates you. Is it a fact or myth? Myth! You can enjoy your morning coffee. Okay, you may visit the bathroom more frequently after drinking coffee, but it doesn't mean you're losing more water. There are numerous studies made about the effects of caffeine. Some of these studies revealed that drinking a reasonable amount of coffee a day doesn't increase the risk of dehydration. Eating yogurt helps your digestion. Do you think this is a fact or just another myth? A fact, but with the right choice of yogurt. Yogurt is food containing probiotics. They are the good bacteria that make everything flow smoothly in your gut. Eating yogurt alone may not be enough to have a healthy digestive system. It supports the digestive system positively. Keep in mind, though, not all yogurts are equal. Some of them have sugar in them, or they come with toppings like candy or cookies. Go for the classic ones. Your hair will grow faster if you have it cut more often. Fact or myth? We were always told not to cry too much over the hair we lost because it would grow back faster. Unfortunately, the hair growth rate doesn't depend on how often you get a haircut. The average hair growth rate is 0.01 inches per day. Plus, many factors affect it: age, hormones, and even the time of year. Knowing this new fact may make some people postpone their hairdresser appointments.
Sticky but puffy and sweet. No, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about cotton candy. Do you think it was invented by a dentist, or is it just a myth? It's not irony, it's a fact. So, boo to the statement, too much sugar is bad for the teeth. People worldwide probably heard this phrase from their dentists. Yet in the United States, a one-of-its-kind dentist mass-produced the fluffiest version of sugar. So machine-spun cotton candy was invented in 1895. Its inventors are dentist William Morrison and confectioner John C. Wharton. Fun fact, they named their product Fairy Floss. Over time, its name evolved to cotton candy. Cotton candy is part of our sweetest memories. Just remember to brush after eating it. White chocolate isn't actually chocolate. Do you think this is a myth or a fact? It is a fact. I know it's as tasty as dark or milk chocolate, but white chocolate is another form of cocoa. Milk and dark chocolate are derived from cocoa powder. White chocolate is made from cocoa butter. It lacks chocolate solids. This means white chocolate doesn't qualify as, quote, real chocolate. Besides, white chocolate products often contain additives, such as palm oil and sweeteners. The hole in the middle of the Life Savers candy is there to provide an airway. Myth or fact? It's a myth. It claims that the hole enables people to breathe if the candy accidentally sticks to their throats. Plus, it looks like life preservers, so the myth makes sense at first glance. The real story is backed by basic science. Clarence Crane began making peppermint candy in 1912. The hole was put there to stand out from other European candies. Then the candy makers couldn't help but compare these mints with Life Savers. To me, they look like donuts too. All colors of Skittles taste the same. Do you think that's a fact or a mind-blowing myth? It's a fact. Okay, the taste is the signal coming from the tongue. The smell is the signal coming from your nose. Combine those and the other signals coming from your eyes and ears, and you have flavor. Based on this, researchers did some experiments. They blindfolded people and gave them nose clips. I'm speeding up the whole experiment process and jumping to the results. So, although each color has distinct fragrances, they don't have different flavors. Gather up, Skittle fans, I have another one for you. American people's favorite Skittle flavor is strawberry. Do you think this is true? Yes, that's a fact. Skittles conducted a survey that revealed that the red Skittles is America's favorite by 33%. There is more yellow in the least loved one with only 6%, least preferred, flavor preferences. The research also shows you how you eat Skittles says a lot about you. For instance, one-at-a-time Skittles eaters are more prone to binge-watch a series. Plus, 23% of Skittles eaters prefer if they melt in a mouth on the Skittles. Bubble Yum contains spider parts. Do you think this is a myth or fact? As you might have guessed, it is an urban legend. Before the 1970s, most of the gums in the US are too brittle and hard to chew. Then this gum appeared on the shelves and people really liked it. They generally like the flavor, color, texture, and chewiness. You know all the things you want from gum. Someone somewhere started this myth. The myth spreads quickly and somehow is accepted. The company has to fight the rumor, so they give full-page ads in national newspapers. It seems like the ads worked because Bubble Yum lived on as a soft gum. The parent company spent over $100,000 battling this rumor. Different colored flakes of Fruit Loops have different tastes. Myth or fact? Well, sorry to disappoint you, but this is a myth. The cereal's flavor has remained the same since its introduction. Plus, that's singular. All those loops are flavored the same. Finding a star on a Tootsie Pop wrapper could earn you a free lollipop. Myth or fact? Well, this is a myth. This soon became an urban legend, so the company launched its own legend named Legend of the Indian Wrapper. How to fight a myth? Create a new legend. Make it about your product and control the rumors from the start. Do you fancy a free lollipop? Van Halen's concert contract required removing brown M&Ms from the rest of the bowlful. Is this a myth or fact? Well, this is a fact. Van Halen's contract specified for a bowl of M&Ms backstage and insisted on removing the brown ones. You can see it on the contract in Van Halen's 1982 World Tour under the Munchies section. This note is written with capital letters. M&Ms, warning, absolutely no brown ones. The legendary no brown M&Ms clause was indeed real, yet the motivation behind it has been misunderstood. This was not a backstage caprice of a self-centered rock band. It had a practical purpose. The reason was to determine if the other side had actually read the contract's technical specifications. If the band saw the brown M&Ms were missing, then it proved the concert promoters had indeed read the agreement in detail and made the necessary adjustments for the stage performances. Eat as much sugar-free candy as you want because it's sugar-free. Myth or fact? Artificial sweeteners are super popular. Experts say one common thing: too much sugar creates health problems. This leads some people to believe that artificial sweeteners are a solution. No, it's a myth. This isn't the perfect solution if there was one. For instance, a study says that a certain artificial sweetener can negatively affect gut activity, meaning you can get tummy troubles and worse. Hey, use your imagination. Eating Pop Rocks and drinking Coke at the same time is not possible. Myth or fact? Myth. Pop Rocks is one of the candies that begin to fizzle and pop when you put them in your mouth. You can drink Coke when you have the sugar in your mouth. This is possible. The rumors took us to another planet. People started making real campaigns after hearing this myth over and over. So the makers of Pop Rocks had to make its counter-campaign to protect the candy's reputation. Sweets cause more tooth decay than other food. What do you think? Myth or fact? It's a myth. Now, debunking this gives me chills. Parents mostly create this myth. Experts reveal the truth, saying that any food that has carbohydrates can cause tooth decay. Sugar is as disruptive or as neutral as other food that contains carbohydrates. It takes 7 years to digest a piece of gum. Is it a myth or fact? Once again, you have to remember that not everything people think is actually true. This is a myth. If this were true, doctors would find evidence of the gum in the digestive tract from people who swallowed some gum. They don't. It's because gum, similar to most other unprocessed foods, will travel through your tummy and intestines within 24 to 48 hours. Trust me. The Twinkie stays fresh forever. Myth or fact? This is another widespread myth. There is no eternal Twinkie. Some ingredients in Twinkies are eggs, milk, and butter, which is stuff that will eventually go bad. It's not artificially processed food. It will expire at one point, which is about 3 months or so. When you think of it, food can't last forever. Hey, it's not Twinkie's fault. Chocolate has a high amount of caffeine in it. Do you think this is a fact or a myth? It is said that a 1.5-ounce milk chocolate bar contains 9 milligrams of caffeine, which is equal to the amount in a cup of decaffeinated coffee. So this is a mostly myth. Chocolate contains small amounts of caffeine, but if you need something that keeps you up late at night or wakes you up in the morning, your first choice would probably not be eating chocolate. Instead, grab that cup of joe.